Hello everyone, my name is Nathan and today it's time for another episode of Oxygen Not Included in the Ultimate Base 2.0. In the previous episode we began the switch to barbecue, so in the future our main source of food is going to be the barbecue, giving us plus 8 morale for our duplicants. Today we're going to automate the breeding and meat production in this area. However, one thing I would like to do now that I have the chance to do it is take on another duplicant, namely Turner. He's going to be my second rancher since with a lot of ranches, May is going to need a little bit of a support. So without any further ado, let's actually take on Turner, and then I also want to make sure Turner first levels up a little bit. So as per usual, we're going to need a manual generator as well as a light. Gonna connect this right here, and then we want to make sure only Turner is capable of actually using it. Eventually Turner is gonna have the same priorities as May, but for the time being all we want is him to focus on operating. Actually, let me go ahead and do this entire contraption here at the top. This way we will also be able to set up a door and only Turner can actually go in there. Turner of course comes with a skill point that we're gonna set to improved farming, continuing to critter ranching, and I'm going to put him into the third shift. By the way, if you can hear background noises, I'm sorry about that, but they are working on the house, actually the upstairs apartment, and they are just drilling and hammering and doing things. Anyways, let's get started with the meat production. The first thing I would like to see is a way to replenish all of my stone hatches in case they die of old age. For that purpose, I believe we want to see at least 3 of these incubation chambers. Actually, I believe we can do 4. We're then gonna hop over to our auto sweeper, and what we want to do is sweep these up. Oh, look at that, it actually adds up perfectly. Placing the auto sweeper here, it's going to be capable of picking up the eggs and everything else that I'm dropping here. We can then automatically fill up the incubators using the stone hatchlings. After that we have the space for a storage bin, and what we could do additionally have 4 more of these incubators served by another auto sweeper. So the second auto sweeper would go right here, picking up items from the storage bin, and then we have the space for another 4 of these. We have to make sure the incubators have a higher priority than the storage bin, so they are going to be filled up first, then the remaining eggs are going to be placed in here, and of course then these guys are going to be filled up. Instead of an incubator right here, we could think about making this vice versa as well. So we could have a storage bin here. Actually, we would need to put it 1 block down. So maybe let's use airflow tiles in order to build this room, and this would be our storage bin going there. If we're lucky, this is still gonna be reachable. However, from the angle, I can already tell that's probably not the case. What if we build it 2 tiles down? This could theoretically work. I have to see if this tile is still reachable. But technically this would allow us to get another 4 incubators in the joint. I also would like to get 2 more solar panels for now. That's just something that's slowly but surely becoming necessary. We will have to switch to a more powerful power system. I already stopped the production of fried mushrooms, so at the moment we are using up our reserves. And hopefully by the time this has happened we have completely switched to a purely meat-based diet. There we go, the tile is out of the way. Then let me check the range here. Yeah, this should still be able to reach the storage bin. And therefore, if we set up another auto sweeper here, this is still going to be able to reach the storage bin. I wonder if we can also use the conveyor loader instead of the storage bin, which would allow us to place 1 additional incubator. And then all we have to do is put the storage bin 1 block over. One tiny little thing I would like to achieve here is a hanging pot. This is hopefully going to make this room also a recreational room. You know what? Even better, we should have a landscape canvas. I think this might be better. You know what? I don't think we actually need to be this optimized. The only reason we really want the incubators is so that we can automatically resupply the hatches that died in the farms. So I'm gonna go with my original plan of having 7 of these on the top layer. And then we should be able to have a couple more of them right here at the bottom. Yeah, that's the exact amount we can reach. Yeah, I really think that's gonna be more than enough. So right here we're actually gonna close it off. This also adds up nicely with our current design. So setting this incubator to stone hatchlings at priority 2 should already be enough for the auto sweeper to do its thing. And then we can do the same thing right here. We're gonna do stone hatchlings at priority 1 for the storage bin. So it's always first gonna fill up the incubators if there is space for them. Why did you do that? Hold the phone. Of course, I forgot to set these up. Now each of them contains the stone hatchlings and they should be placed in there. I removed the eggs of all the incubators so they can be brought over here and temporarily set this to priority 9 so the duplicants do it themselves. As it turns out, the auto sweeper has to target the bottom of the storage bin, so I decided to go with an automatic dispenser. This is now bringing the eggs from this storage bin to the dispenser and then they are dropping down. We can also let them drop down all the way and then have the ladder in this place. I also thought it would be really nice to have a transit access point right in this place, even though we are gonna sacrifice one incubator. So we're gonna leave out 3 spots for the transit tube access point and then we can have a couple more of these. I will have to check if this one here is possible as well, so I would like this to be built first so we can test it out. But after that we still have way more than enough room for the kill chamber. In the meantime, Turner is eagerly training up athletics and operating skills. Good times. Up to this point it is actually working quite well. At the moment we are in an infinite loop because duplicants are bringing it back to the chest. However, eventually I would like this to be a closed off room so duplicants will not even have to enter here. Okay, now let's see this happen. Stone hatchling, priority 2. Will you do it? Ooh, it doesn't look like it. That is really unfortunate because theoretically for the kill chamber we only need 3 tiles. If we cannot reach it from this side, we might be able to reach it from the other side. So if this tile right here is within the auto sweeper's range, it might work. Which kind of makes me want to place another incubator here. Oh, hang on. It was actually not able to reach them. Okay, that's interesting. So let's go ahead and actually test this out. If we have this incubator built, then we should be able to place the eggs in there. Okay, let's see that happen, please. No? So disappointing. In this case, we're gonna go with the original plan. It is a little bit of an eyesore because the incubation chambers aren't always at the same spot. But with another auto sweeper right there, we are able to cover everything. And then, as mentioned, a transit tube access point. We're gonna replace this tile with a tube and bring up the duplicants this way. If we cannot enter this room anymore, it would be wise to replace all the wiring with the good type. And in this area we are finally killing off the critters. All we really need for this is another conveyor loader that we're gonna place right here. We're gonna need some railing, dropping the critters right here in the center until the eggs hatch and they immediately die because they are drowning. And afterwards we're gonna need another auto sweeper to pick up the meat. The meat itself will then be pushed into this conveyor loader and then we're gonna have a separate rail for the meat. I intend to fill this up with carbon dioxide, this room, so for the time being I'm just gonna drop the meat right next to this transit tube access point and it can remain there uncooked but also not being spoiled. In the future we might bring it up to the base, but I'm not 100% sure how much meat I'm gonna produce and if I have an excess of it, I don't want it to go to waste. To make the transit tube access point work, we're gonna have to take a little detour, so I would like you to build this quickly and we can change it up. Hold on, if I do it like this, I did not leave enough space. Could I move this auto sweeper over 2 blocks? Yeah, I think that would work. But I'm gonna need enough space to actually transfer the items over to the other auto sweeper. Yeah, maybe at this point it's not the perfect layout, but I kind of want it to fit into the structure we already have. If I were to do it in a separate area, I would probably go with different dimensions so everything adds up perfectly. So placing the auto sweeper here, I can cover the first 2 incubators, then we have the space for one of those and all we have to do is bridge this over a little bit. No, not bridge. We rail it over and then another conveyor chute so this guy can reach them and then serve the other 3 incubators and conveyor loader. One more thing we're gonna require for this room, of course, is a little bit of water that I'm gonna grab from here. We're gonna bring it over and then dump it at this point. Now, I believe I can place enough water in here so that the upper row gets filled just by a tiny amount. All we need is a kilogram of water or so in the top slot of this room, and then it's gonna technically touch the ceiling, therefore drowning the critters. Okay, something horrible happened here that I did not discover for a while, but for some reason there is now more water in this chamber than there was previously. I'm not 100% sure how this is exactly possible, but we definitely have to make our way in there in order to fix it, otherwise my entire water pool is gonna freeze. Oh, actually it's gonna freeze in just a moment. I'm not sure how the water was capable of multiplying. Okay, this scenario is actually kind of perfect. Now we can just go ahead and mop this up. But yeah, this is what I call insanity. There was no reason for the game to do this to me. I mean, look at that, it's only 34 kilograms. It should not be touching the mechanized airlock, but it does. One way we could actually fix that is by replacing these two tiles with some metal tiles as well. Yeah, I think this might just be a reasonable solution. So all we really have to do is get in there. I'm gonna try that. Gonna use some iron tiles to do this. Steel would be better, but it's not necessary. But we're gonna have some polluted oxygen now here. I'm also going to move the thermosensor down a little bit. If we have the door between two metal tiles, this shouldn't be possible to happen anymore, since this is always a vacuum here in the door. We're starting to fill up the kill chamber with water, which is perfect. However, we're actually not quite ready yet. Let me just make a cut here until we are. Obviously, also this we want to fill out with our drywall. I decided to go with a different layout because why build a transit tube if I want to completely automate this and never go back in there? Just didn't make any sense whatsoever. Now it actually comes with a layout I can stand behind. I also changed the incubators to have priority 3 so that I can set the dispensers to priority 1. And finally, this guy right here, the conveyor loader, should be priority 2. And what we want to collect in here is also the eggs. So that's going to be stone hatchling eggs. And in this case, the eggs should be transported over here. As you can see, I also swapped my outputs and the auto sweeper. Of course, it's going to be much easier to fill this up completely with water if we have the output on the top. Anyways, in this final conveyor loader, what we want to pick up is the raw meat. Edible, and there should be some meat for us to pick up. Where is it? Barbecue? No, hold the phone. Ah, there it is. Wonderful. I'm just blind. I also rerouted this to go actually into the other direction, into this conveyor chute. Because, well, this room is not going to be accessible to us any longer. In here, all the extra eggs can go ahead and hatch. Then, once they died, the meat is going to be brought over into a secure location. Oh no! I just remembered why I wanted access to this room. The duplicants need to be able to access the stone hatchlings. Oh no, this really throws me off. Gosh, I can't get a break here. Well, I guess that's what I get for not properly planning this out. But if I have my transit tube access here, I will not be able to go to the upstairs room. And therefore I have the exact same problem. You know, I mean, one thing we could try is to not make this an independent system. We can just have entry points here on the sides. You know what? I might actually end up doing that for the time being. But I believe I only want to do it on the top, so we will be able to close this off. I'm gonna deconstruct the left incubator to make my way upstairs. We will then most likely want another transit tube access in this area. So give me one of those. I can actually go ahead and deconstruct those guys as well. Anyways, one thing we can do is reconnect this and fill this completely up with water. That will at least be one thing out of the way I don't have to change. And just to be fancy, I'm gonna use some plastic ladders in this place. Now it looks as though there's one thing I cannot do, and that is set up the meat for the automatic dispensers. That is a little bit of a pity. I mean, what if our stone hatchling farms are all full but we still have babies going on? The babies are eventually gonna grow up and they're gonna pop out of the incubators, and then they're just gonna walk around here dropping some meat eventually. I'd much rather bring them all into a separate area. So maybe if we just go ahead and hook up a teensy tiny room here, and then inside of the room we're gonna have a critter drop-off point for all the stone hatchlings that are extra and that didn't have a place in the stables. This doesn't really satisfy me because then it is not going to be automated anymore. I mean, we're only dealing with stone hatchlings here. They cannot go up again once I place them here, for instance. So there would only be roaming around here at the bottom. And then we could go ahead, replace this automatic dispenser with a system that is capable of picking up the meat. So have a conveyor loader right here, and then have something like that with a conveyor chute. They're dropping down here and it's practically the same effect. Still a little bit bad because the auto sweeper can actually reach this place. We would have to swap the incubators, for instance. I'm gonna check out how it goes. Maybe it's not that bad. So all my stone hatchlings can go here. And this needs to be a high priority but lower than the actual stone hatchling farms. Now with that new system, we shouldn't be ending up with any meat on the top layer. However, eventually there's gonna be meat at the bottom layer. But we can now go ahead and set this up within the conveyor loader. So the meat is going to be brought over here and then directly transported with this conveyor loader into the secure area. You know what? This transit tube really doesn't make any sense. Gosh, what's happening to me? All my thinking power is gone. It just occurred to me that this automatic dispenser needs to have priority. So this should be priority 2, and then the eggs can continue. And then this conveyor loader should also have a lower priority than this guy. So we're gonna set this to priority 3. That means all of the incubators should have priority 4. At least the ones at the bottom. Wonderful. Now the eggs are traveling correctly and are all ending up here. The kill chamber has been completely filled up. We are ready to get this going. We now only have to wait for the first meat to come in, and then over time we should acquire more and more meat. There we had our first little guys hatching, and May is actually already taking care of it. In the meantime, Turner, how far are you in your training? You got another skill point that we can put into ranching. Let me see. We are not going to need research with him. No, we can go into critter ranching. That is probably going to be the most important one. Yes, admittedly, it did take a while to get it into the final form, but now I'm pretty happy with the system. It is also pleasing to the eye. I think I'm gonna leave this running a little bit until we can see what that means for our meat production, but so far so good, I would say. Also, if we check out the mushrooms, we don't seem to be producing too many mushrooms, otherwise they would already be gone. And also meal lice doesn't seem to be accumulating too much. That's good news, I think. The only thing we're really missing at this point are the bristle berries, so that could be another thing we need to make more of. Maybe the freaking geckos are just eating too much of it. Good, I will probably still think about eventually adding a transit tube system to get into this room much quicker. In terms of temperatures, we're actually using the temperature from the water on the top in order to keep this room stable. That means the one room we now have to take care of is the glossy dracos. With the current setup, it's not going to be possible to cover the right 2 tiles, but if we are unlucky enough that they lay an egg right over there, my duplicants can still pick it up. So what I would like to see is something like that, so we basically cover the entirety of the space, and we can also have one auto sweeper here on the left side. Maybe we can achieve a little bit of a better distribution doing it this way. Is this actually overlapping? Let me see. Yeah, this would be overlapping right in this space, and those 2 guys are overlapping as well. I think it's gonna bother me that I cannot reach the entirety of the room. I mean, there's an easy fix. It's just taking away from the symmetry, which I don't think is gonna be the worst thing that can happen to us. There we go. That's what I wanted to see. This is going to allow us to place an additional auto sweeper right here. The next one would go right there. This reaches all the way to the right of the lamp, which is not quite enough. Oh, man. So I'm guessing it won't really matter. We're just gonna have one conveyor loader for each of the auto sweepers. And then we just want to bring the items all the way over into the same region. So everything is going to be dropped here at the bottom. We can then pick up the phosphorite as well as the plastic and all of the Draco eggs. Let's try to find all of these items. The phosphorite should go in there. Then we said we wanted the glossy Draclet eggs as well as the normal Draclet eggs. I don't think I've ever gotten anything else. And then last but not least, we're also gonna have the plastic in these guys. They can be a fairly low priority. Copy the settings over to this guy and we should be golden. Okay, so this guy can seriously not reach it. This is so disappointing. We just don't quite have the reach. I'm guessing I'm just gonna place another one of these in this case, so at least it's kind of symmetrical. But yeah, in the end, I guess it doesn't matter too much. Either way, we will not be using up that much energy. We have way more power-hungry contraptions than this. There we go. Now also the rest is being picked up and brought over to the system. Everything dropping down in this spot at the moment. Great, I love it. Let's check back on the research quickly. We are almost done. And then I guess to wrap up this episode, we will make our way into space and research some more. This is good news. Turner's athletics is 3. I want him to get to at least 5, preferably 10. But he seems to be taking a while to do so. Okay, let me just finish the research and I'm gonna be right back once we're ready to do the space research. Alrighty, I've been observing this for a little bit and it seems to work well. We just had the hatchling hatch and right now it seems to be drowning. So we can observe that in just a moment and new eggs are coming in. There we go. It actually worked and the meat is being picked up right away. It should then end up right here where it is going to stay fresh until we decide to cook it. This is great news. In other news, we are done with the research project. That means we can now send Gene back into space to do some research. If we have a quick look here, I should still have enough food. That seems to be good. We also have 4,500 kilograms of plastic for the research. And it seems we also have 4,500 kilograms of algae. That should be good. We can send her up. Quick look at the schedule. I'm gonna wait for her downtime and sleep time until we send her up. The automation here on the top also seems to be working. We never have something on the floor anymore. It always gets dropped right here. So yeah, overall I'm pretty happy with the outcome of this episode. Now let's just hope we can finish some serious research. Turner already has reached Athletics 4. At Athletics 5 I'm gonna send him into the world. And it looks as though he just earned another skill point. Phenomenally. Okay, it is now the next cycle. I'm gonna send her to go into orbit right there. Because the atmosuits always get broken, I ran into a little bit of an issue with this checkpoint. I decided to disable it completely for the time being, and we will have to find a better solution. There we go. Gene is inside, and of course we have to endure another save. And there we go. 3, 2, 1, blast off. Whee! I'm going for the quick research first. This one is only taking 10 orange points. Now she does her thing here twice, and after that she should start researching. I want to make sure that by the time we reach the end of her working hours, I'm gonna send her back. It might seem a little bit like a nuisance, but in reality it's just gonna make it a little bit easier for me, and it's quite temporary until we are done with the research basically. That's already one research out of the way. Wonderful. Let's head into the next one, which is radiation refinement. And she can continue right away. Wonderful. Checking the schedule again. Yeah, we still have a little bit of time. Gee, no course correction is required. What are you doing? Oh man, this is just the best animation. I love how this has been described in the comment section. Like, the machine is falling apart and all she's trying is to keep it together. That's another research out of the way. Is there another thing that goes really quickly? New media, for instance. Another 10 points. So per cycle we should be able to knock out a research of 40 points. Looks like this was enough for one day. We're gonna go ahead and actually make our way back. This should go quite immediately. And then if I tell her to not be crew anymore, she is also going to do her downtime and everything. In the meantime, the hatch farms are actually filling up. And if we check our coal supplies, I was at 23 tons at some point. So we are getting tons and tons of coal, which kind of makes me want to place another coal generator. And we're gonna do this right away. This also needs to be hooked up to automation wire, obviously. I wish I could take apart this thing here. This window is just not really advantageous, if you ask me. Actually, doing the research like so, Jean is not gonna suffer from decreased morale, and we can send her back right now. Set the destination again. Let's maybe go into a different spot. Not that it really helps, but you know. I'm gonna begin the launch sequence, and there she goes, with a little bit of lag. I just can't get enough of this. I just love this about Clay. All their games come with really cute animations. Good, new media has been knocked out. Let's do multiplexing next. And said and done. Wow, this goes really quickly, I have to say. Okay, now on to the bigger research projects. 40 points, that's gonna take a while. We cannot finish it quite in today's cycle, that's fine. All I wonder is, am I gonna have enough plastics? Yeah, looks like it doesn't really require a lot of it. And another cycle is done. Gonna send her back right now. And yeah, that's basically how we're gonna deal with the rest of the research. Just like that. So let me do this for a couple of cycles. I think everything else at the moment is quite under control. We're not actively using a material apart from sulfur that we cannot replenish at the moment. Right now it's a pretty stable and self-sustaining base. Maybe one problem I still have is the chill in this area. It is preventing some of my plants from being healthy there. And I guess eventually we're gonna need more pinch-up pepper nut as well as the bristleberries. And of course we could optimize this, but looking at this, I just want to see how much we accumulate. Because if we keep on accumulating, I can remove one pot. But yeah, I'm gonna be right back once I'm finished with all or most of the research. Alrighty, I'm back and I optimized a few things. First and foremost, the researching process, but I'm gonna show you that in a second. What I did right here is set up a timer sensor that sends a green signal every 5 seconds, then shuts off every 5 seconds in order to control this auto sweeper. The reason I'm doing that is because the auto sweeper had the tendency to always pick up the egg this automatic dispenser dropped. So that was kind of a way to prevent it. We are currently quite stable with the barbecue. I had it around 20,000 kilocalories all the time now. And if we have a look at the stack of stone hatchling eggs I have here, I don't even know how many there are, but it's definitely coming along. I also decided 2 pots of meal lice and mushrooms are enough, and I decided to actually automate this. So there's some dirt in here and slime in there with an auto sweeper taking care of these. We can even add 1 more plant. On the top right here I have 2 bristle blossoms in order to take care of the chooser in the living module. And right here I have the new place for the thimbleweed. We only really need 2 plants at the moment. We are still waiting for it to get a little bit hotter. We need 22 degrees at least. This is the reason I also decided to go with 25 degrees for the average temperature of the cooling loop. Anyways, let's have a look at the research process. All I want to do is wait for Jean's stamina to be above 90% or so. So we're just gonna let time run until that is the case right now. Then we go back up to the spaceship. We want to change the destination. We also want to change Jean to be the crew, and we can begin the launch sequence right away. She's gonna come over immediately, and then as soon as the rocket isn't listed underneath the planetoid, we can start researching. So instead of letting her do the useless rocket piloting thing, we are gonna move her over, and we will have to do that a second time when we actually arrive in space right now. And there we go, she starts immediately with the research. A couple of hour slots later, she will attempt to do that again, and I can simply interrupt it. This is especially for the research we're doing right now. I've basically done everything except for the large research objects, and right here we need 300 orange points, so that is quite something. In conjunction with the interstellar research, I'm also doing the radiant research. The rat bolt generators will collect 50 rat bolts every 2 cycles, and only then they're gonna shoot it. So this thing here is gonna fill up with 100 rat bolts. So every 2 cycles I'm gonna send her back a little bit earlier in order to take care of that research, and nothing is wasted. I know this is a lot of intervention, but we have to think about it as something really temporary. I don't want to set up a huge build that I'm gonna have to tear apart once the research is done. Now she's attempting to pilot again. Let's send her back to the machine. Wonderful. And now I have a little bit of time to do something else. But yeah, that is essentially gonna be it. I think we successfully transferred our diet to meat. The only problem is that these incubators aren't being emptied quick enough for my taste. I tried to increase the priority of them, but it also doesn't seem to work. What we can do is manually remove the critters, but I'm not sure that is really what I want to do in due time. But you can see we already have a couple of critters here downstairs. It feels like we are now pretty much ready to start visiting other planetoids, do some telescoping, and get different types of resources in the joint. But yeah, I would say with that out of the way, we're gonna wrap it up for today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. Have a great time and see you in the next one. Bye bye.